Hey everyone, welcome to the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. This is Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you very much for joining us on the show on this and now over 419 episodes of the show. It's because of you. We're here. We're doing it because of the demand. You like the content. You like the guests, uh, again, the content, the topics, a lot of which other shows, other people, other yeah, uh, other shows they just won't cover. They don't want to, and we we're okay with that. We don't think people should do what they're not comfortable doing. Uh, I feel like talking about life is what I'm here to do. And so that's what we're doing. So some of the topics are not the uh, again, not the most glamorous topics that we do talk about. But we do talk about them nonetheless, because we are human and there are things, events that happen, and talking about them. I know for me, as you've heard over and over again, it's helpful for me to talk through them and to have you as a listener or a viewer or both over time, right? I mean, sometimes we listen, sometimes we watch. It just depends where we're at. Uh, we have a library of shows and episodes, and when we have time, we watch and we listen. I'm the same way as you are. That's that's how I do it, and we have a big belief here at Voices for Voices that we want to have as many platforms as humanly possible that has our content on it, because we don't want anybody to be somewhere in the world and feel like, oh, this is where I was listening to it and now I can't get this particular app. And so we think we've done a pretty good job of spanning the globe, again, over. Let me just say what our goals are instead of going over where. So our goals are to at least three and a half, help at least 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. We also, included in that goal, we want to help and reach at least 300 countries, provinces, territories in the world, and we want to help and reach over 3,000 cities in the world. That's what we want to do. We've broken goals in a good way where we beat the goal. So let's say the goal was one, we came at like five. Uh, so our one goal was at 300 and we came in at 403. That that's just the plain cold hard facts that what's occurred. If we're able to, if you can hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, like, follow, share, subscribe. If you can reach out to 25, 50, 100, 200, your closest people in your friend circle, uh, colleagues at work, on your ball team, uh, wherever you call people, call your fellow humans friends, colleagues. If you can do that, or if you can make a post about Voices for Voices, and how we would love to include others in helping us reach these goals because we know we can't do this alone, and we're not here because we've done this alone. We've done it with your help, and it's going to be your help and others' help that are going to get us to those goals. I know we can do it because we've beaten huge goals before. So I know it is possible, and I have belief that we can do it. I wouldn't put out humongous goals if I didn't think uh, they were able to be hit or matched or exceeded. So that's what we're talking about. We're not one of these organizations and I'm not one of these leaders that I'm only going to be around for a year and then I'm going to, pass the torch on to the next person to lead. Uh, I started the organization. I have belief so much belief in this organization that I'd be doing a disservice to you and anybody else and everybody else who has poured any energy into Voices for Voices if I didn't do what we're doing and stick around and being that, that little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You've seen a photo that's been circulating around the last year and a half or so when uh, I had the privilege to be able to speak to a high school football team, good friend, Coach John Bushko, invited me out and I was able to talk to his whole football team on last night of the season, senior night. Uh, and so that's what we did. I brought out like 100 glow sticks, turned out the lights, and at the end, that's how I ended it. Because each one of us, we have a light, and we can decide whether we're gonna let it shine or let it not shine. And so I also like to think of, oh, let's see. So Simple Plan was one of those bands and is one of those bands. So let me just, I'll get to the first, I'm going to get to the second, I'm going to do the second part and I'm going to do the first. So I'm going to go kind of in reverse as far as time goes. So the second part is, that, uh, the advent, you can watch just about if it's filmed, if somebody's gonna hold a camera for an hour or two or three or four, however long a show is, and put it on one of many of the platforms that we have our show on, that you have watched and or listened at one time or another. And so I've caught Simple Plan concerts on on TV mostly, through different apps that we have at the house. And there's multiple songs, right? If there's like a slow song, or sometimes it doesn't have to be a slow song, but many times it is. The artists, they say, okay, if everybody, take out your phone and, put the flashlight on, or put the candle app. as and so when you get the view behind the band looking out into the crowd, the audience, and it's pitch dark, and then you just see lights just light up, and then a light, and then a light, and then a light, and a light, and then pretty soon there's quite a few lights, even with our cellular devices, our smartphones, whatever you want to refer to them as. And so that makes me think of the whole this little light of mine. I learned that in going to Catholic school. I didn't go my whole grade school and high school career, school career. I just went for a little bit. Um, and I remember from way back when, I don't know when exactly I learned it, but I learned, the This Little Light of Mine song. I think I remember it because it's so easy, at least for me to remember. Uh, and so that's what I did, at this speaking engagement. It was so cool uh, because I was able to, one of the things that's hard for people and me is, you know, is public speaking. It's one of the most feared things for us as human beings is to be a is public speaking. And so anytime I can, number one, I want to end on something that is has the opportunity to be a good takeaway. Like somebody could totally not listen to the 20 minutes or half hour or however long you're speaking to them. They could not listen the whole time. But then when they're handed the glow stick and and then the lights go down and then you just start and do, at least in my case, the this little light of mine. And I've talked about this before, because I'm such a believer in simplicity, that it was something that was so easy to do. It was so easy to find glow sticks. I didn't have to get super fancy with them. I just got kind of like the basic. I got the color, so red was one of their colors of the high school of the team. So I got the color red, and then had coaches, and then and the players, student athletes, pass them around as I'm, round and third, ready to end up my talk. And then another coach, shut out the lights, and so it worked out pretty good. And so I wanted to do something that was meaningful, that they would remember kind of together, right? So meaningful and they would remember. And then something that was easy for me to close on, right? Like it it's easy just to go, oh, okay, I'm done. I don't really know what I said. And there have been times like that over the years. Uh, but I think because of how often and how many shows we have, that things are getting just a little bit easier. Not a lot, just a little bit. And so once I get asked to speak, that's the first thing. I usually think of how do I want it to end? Because it doesn't matter how you start, it matters how you finish, how you end, whether that's a ball game, who has, the top score or the lowest score, depending on what sport we're playing or watching, might not. And so it doesn't matter how the person or the team or the club started, it's how they ended, right? That's how it's decided who wins and who loses games. If we're talking about if, yeah, if that's how we're talking and thinking about things. Uh, so that's how I've started and have been thinking, okay, how do I want a particular engagement to end? I'm not talking about I'm talking a game, a match, and engage like that engagement. That's what I'm getting at. Nobody wants any engagement to end. So to go in reverse with simple plan, and this ties into mental health. Well, all of this ties into mental health, but I remember Simple Plan was one of the bands that I had one of it was either their greatest hits or it was just one particular album. I don't remember which it was. And this goes way back for me. This goes back to, my party days, drinking and going out to the club and all those things. And excuse me. So I remember on a good bit of, I don't want to say every single occasion, but there were a lot of occasions where come home from the bar or the club, and at that point, at the beginning, we didn't have, I don't think we had iPhones at that time. So it was more like we had iPods, which looked like iPhones. And so, the different size memory, would dictate how many songs you could put on there. And so I had it, or there were really, it's called an MP3 player. So it didn't have to be an iPod. It could have been, there's so many other names of organizations that had, MP3 players. And then you'd put music on and then you would listen to it. And I remember Simple Plan, the same songs that are now popular some 25 years later, or more, that I watch on my TV, people holding their phones, either with the flashlight on or the virtual candle, and during while slow songs being played, or and then I think again how that related and it relates to this little light of mine as far as different talks that I've given in shows, talked about, shared, and going all the way back to those 25 years ago and coming home from the bars most of the times is drunk out of my mind, and now I put the earbuds in and then I would just play music super, super, super loud until at some point during the night it hurt my head. I was getting more sober. Uh, but I remember listening to again, I can't remember if it was the greatest hits album or if it was just one of their albums that they had put out. But I remember tens of times, maybe even hundreds. I don't know the number of how many times I listened to these songs. And it was because they were catchy and I was frankly like afraid to close my eyes, really. You've heard me talk about like, the shark and uh when I would meditate at times over the years or try to, say, oh, go to a, happy place and or a place that you like and the beach is one of them. And just about every time I would do that, I would wind up feet in the ocean or on a pier, hanging down, with my feet hanging down, and there'd be a shark coming, biting me, like jumping out of the water. How realistic is that? Not very realistic, especially if you're on land most most of the time. And and so I think that was one of the reasons why I did listen to music, no matter how, I don't know if it was because I was, well, I know insecurity is part of it, but no matter what, uh, I would listen to music, and Simple Plan was one of those bands that it was on like the mix list, right? You could go and it would say you have 100 songs, and it you could play them straight through, and then have it repeat and start back at wherever song number one was if there's 100. After you hit 100, then it goes back to one, then two, three, four, and you get the idea. But I would always, or it would feel like always, Simple Plan songs that were literally on repeat. I mean, back then, most of the times I would go out drinking and doing the partying thing, thinking that, well, that's just what people do on the weekends, right? Uh, I I was the one that thought I was always right. That obviously is not the case at all. So far away, so far from that. Uh, so far away being a Nickelback song, I didn't even think I didn't. And I find myself sometimes talking in that way that's really how ingrained my mind is with music being a voice with me when there are times when I attempt to play a song on a guitar, attempt to sing it, which I'm basically just for the most part just reading the lyrics because at least I don't think I'm that good of a singer. Uh, and so I think that's part of that is the way I'm wired is with music and why that's when it's used in a good way, where there's not a lot of swearing and that, which was another issue thing that I had a very, very bad uh this wasn't I would I would use bad words, just say it like that. And that was one of the first things when I started doing any type of public speaking or being in any type of a meeting and be asked questions. I was, I don't say fearful. Maybe I was that I would slip up and drop the F-bomb or other words that just as bad. Um, and so as I look back on my life, as I watch at times, Simple Plan, their shows, I just I think this happens to a lot of us. Maybe it's music, maybe it's a particular band, maybe it's a particular just song. I know that as I'm getting like these goosebumps, as if my body's like, that's right, Justin. Certain songs come up and it's just like, oh my gosh. And then I flip the station. Sometimes you're places where like you don't have control over the music. And so you kind of have to, get by that without having whatever the situation was. Again, some of them could be good situations, some of them could be not. I just think that music is so ingrained in a lot of us. I mean, for believers of God and higher power, and I mean, going to church or going to a mosque or uh, no matter where we worship, if we do or if we don't, there's music some point somewhere, usually across faiths. You go to a sporting event, there's music played at some point, and I'll speak for American baseball. Every time somebody comes up to the plate, the bat, they call it the walk-up song. So they tell the people that are have control over the music, before the game, I'd like, 15 seconds of this particular song to be played. Like maybe it it gives them good vibes. And I remember one of the actually two of them, no more than that. So multiple speaking engagements to students, high schools. And I took that approach talking about walk-up song, like, thinking like, what do I want my walk-up song to be? or to kind of, right, you're trying to, especially, when there's a lot of chit chat, a lot of talking and going on, you want to kind of get people a little bit quieter, as you get started and get introduced and that. And so music is a way to do it, right? So if you go from like no music, nothing, people talk, 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 and then all of a sudden that song comes on, and then if it's a catchy song, then they sing along with it, and if it's not, then they don't. And so I remember one of my very first larger uh, speaking engagements. I was looking up on the computer and trying to see like what was the most popular song to have the best chance of having these students at least, maybe bob their head with the music. If they're in a conversation, they might, catch a few beats of the song or a few words. And so I did that. It was so and looking back, it was funny because as like I'm communicating with the school staff and the tech people of like, okay, am I gonna have any pictures that they're going to bring a screen down, and how do you go from picture one to picture two or slide one to slide two like PowerPoint and that. And as I was doing that, I was like, like I always walk up to these two songs and I actually had them backwards, meaning I should have had what song I had picked second. I should have had that first. But again, I didn't know. I'm going off of, what the internet says. Uh, and so it was not only a cue that I wanted for the students to kind of, wrap up their conversations and that, but it was a cue for me to be like, all right, Justin, you prepared, so uh, here you go. You got two songs and an introduction between you and this period of time. And as of lately, uh, I haven't done that because it was given as wild as this sounds, it was giving me some anxiety because of that, because it's like, okay, Justin, yep, it's halfway through the first song. Oh, first song's done. Here's the second song. Oh, halfway through. So within 5 minutes, you're going to be introduced and you better be ready. Uh, and so it was giving me anxiety when the plan, well, it wasn't to give me anxiety, but I wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have gone through experiences like that. And so that's what I just want to share to you. Like, unless you really going off of our previous shows, guess, uh, the trial and error that some things are trial and error, and that's one of them. Now, will I never do a walk-up song? I can't say that I will never or that I won't, but at this point, it just tends to be a little easier. Now I'm close to being quite certain that it depends on, how many people are there and where it's at, and it- that'll dictate a little bit of will I have walk-up song or not. But I got the cue from American baseball and the walk-up song for each player. Every time they come up the bat, they announce their name, like now batting number five, and then they say their name, and then like I said, maybe 15 seconds of the song that gets them in the zone is played. And so that's what I was going off of. Now I know if I do walk-up songs, for me, that if I do the same two, I'm going to do them in reverse order because and again, you don't know until you do it. It's trial and error. It's exactly what it is. The first song played and the bobbing of the heads and people are people, students and faculty there, it's kind of like, they're singing the song, they know the words and, especially the catchy parts and the chorus and not that the second one didn't. I would I would just do the first song second because right, you're trying to what I'm trying to do is to get obviously getting people's attention first and then creating some kind of energy, some positive energy, some okay, I'm ready. What are we what are we about to hear? What's this guy gonna say? As opposed to just sitting there going, oh, I'm in period three and I wish I wasn't sitting here. Well, there's still gonna be students saying that and thinking that, but you're trying to think of that energy. Just like you start kind of at a low point, it's like an arc where, the ebb and the flow may start at the top and then go down, and then it's like in that U shape, and then you end at the top, right? You want people to, right? That's what this episode we've talked about. You know exactly what I'm talking about with this little light of mine. It doesn't matter if you like that idea or not, but it was ending on a high point, not people getting high. It is ending on a high point, and if that was the only thing that the audience remembered, you want to end on a high point. You don't want to end on a low point. I learned. I had to learn. And so now I have a little better understanding of, the arc. So I can start high energy right? From the walk-up song. If you have a walk-up song, if you don't have a walk-up song, you start, man, I was here, and this, and this. But then this happened. Roop. Down the slide we go. We hang out there for a period of time, and then we start going up that arc. That when we end, we're up at the top, right? We're there to motivate. We wanna help people. I know when I sit in an audience, if it ends on a low point, it's like I don't think they meant to do that. But again, all these things that we've talked about, trial and error. It's taken me 44 years to figure out that that's what it's actually called. Some things work, some things don't. Some things work, some things don't. And a long time went for some things in me not to work. And then now I'm at least a teeny bit comfortable in front of a camera, in front of a large group that I've never met in my life. Because at the end of the day, you still got to look, if you're able, if you do have your eyesight. If not, have a kind of like, that mental picture of, okay, I did good. And I have the number one for those that are listening. I have one finger raised, just looking to help one person, just trying to touch one person's life. Yeah, we have wild, huge goals. We're going to reach them. I know we are. Why? Because I have faith in you and your friend group and their friend group and their friend group and their friend group. I know it. I wouldn't put that out there if I didn't think we would do it, right? Why would I end on a down note? I'm pointing down. I want to end on a thumbs up, positive note. Remember that arc. Start at the top, work your way down. Don't spend too much time at the bottom. Just spend enough to have that impact of like, oh man, wow. And then start working your way up. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Voices for Voices podcast and TV show. I'm just so tickled that this is episode number 420. Uh, Obviously, growing up, I understand 420 was there 420 chemicals and marijuana, or that was a thing. It was a phase, very small phase, but it was a phase, and so there are certain numbers. It's like, oh my gosh, this is referring to this, or this is referring to that. But yeah, this is episode 420, number 420. There's a part of me that just cannot believe it that this is episode number 420. Not one, not two, not 100, not 200, not 300, not 400. of 420 episodes of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast in the book. Please help us out. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, like, follow, share, subscribe. They're free to do. Follow us. Keep up to speed on our social media platforms. Uh, Again, if you can, text, uh, put a post out to your followers about Voices for Voices. We are behind only two: Joe Rogan Experience and the Dan Bongino Show. And then you find the Voices for Voices podcast and TV show. And we're there across the whole entire world. Not because of me, but because of you. Thank you very much. Please be a voice for you or somebody in need. And we're praying for you. We're sending good vibes to you, whether you're a believer or not. We love you. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And we will see you on the next episode of the Voices for Voices podcast and TV show. We have nothing but love coming your way. Be on the lookout for episode 421. We love you. Take care. Be safe. Have fun. And live prosperous. Take care. We love you.